Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak to you about something truly extraordinary, the power of one. One idea, one action, one person can change the course of history. It is easy to think that as individuals, we are small, powerless against the vast challenges of the world. But history proves otherwise. Think about Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years behind bars and emerged to lead South Africa into democracy. Think about Malala Yousafzai, a young girl who defied the Taliban to demand education for all. Think about Thomas Edison, whose relentless spirit gave us the light bulb. Each of them was just one person who made a difference. The power of one starts with a decision to stand up, to speak out, to take action. You may be one person, but your words can inspire thousands. Your actions can create ripples that reach far beyond what you imagine. Never underestimate the difference you can make. A single act of kindness can lift a broken spirit. A single moment of courage can change a life. A single voice can spark a revolution. So I challenge you today, be that one. Be the one who stands when others sit. Be the one who speaks when others stay silent. Be the one who believes when others doubt. Because the power of one is the power to change the world. And that power lies in you. Throughout history, the power of a single individual to spark change has been undeniable. Time and time again, we see that one person armed with conviction, resilience, and vision can shift the course of history, influence millions, and redefine what is possible. Take Mahatma Gandhi, for example. He was just one man, but his unwavering commitment to nonviolence and civil disobedience led India to independence. He did not have an army, nor did he command great wealth, but he had something far greater, an unbreakable belief in justice and human dignity. His actions ignited a movement that transformed an entire nation and inspired future leaders around the world. Consider Rosa Parks, the woman who refused to give up a seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She was just one person, yet her quiet defiance became the catalyst for the civil rights movement. That one moment of courage, a refusal to comply with injustice, mobilized thousands and led to the dismantling of racial segregation laws in the United States. Or think about Albert Einstein, a single mind that reshaped the way we understand the universe. His theories not only advanced science but also paved the way for modern technology. Without his contributions, many of the advancements we take for granted today, such as GPS, nuclear energy, and space exploration, might not exist. Even in our daily lives, we see the power of one in action. A teacher who believes in a struggling student can change that child's future. A single act of kindness, like a smile or a helping hand, can brighten someone's day and set off a chain reaction of goodwill. A lone whistleblower exposing corruption can lead to systemic reform. The world often tells us that we as individuals are too small to make a difference. But history tells a different story. Change begins not with masses, but with one person taking a stand, refusing to accept the status quo, and daring to imagine a better world. It is not about having power, it is about having purpose. It is not about having a large audience, it is about having the courage to speak up. So the question is not, can one person make a difference? The question is, will you be that one? Change does not happen overnight, nor does it come from the efforts of large groups acting all at once. Instead, history shows us that every great movement begins with a single action, one bold step that sets everything into motion. That first step might seem small or insignificant at the time, but it has the power to create waves that grow into a tidal force of transformation. Consider the story of Greta Thunberg, a Swedish teenager who decided to skip school one Friday to protest outside the Swedish parliament. She sat alone with a simple sign, Skål strike for klimatet, School strike for climate. She was just one girl, and yet that solitary act of defiance sparked a global climate movement. Millions of young people around the world joined her, staging school strikes and demanding action from world leaders. What began as a single decision turned into an international call for environmental responsibility. Look at the Arab Spring, a series of revolutions that reshaped the Middle East. It all began in Tunisia when a single street vendor, Mohammed Bouazizi, set himself on fire in protest against corruption and injustice. That one act of desperation ignited mass protests, eventually toppling governments and altering the political landscape of multiple nations. Even in the world of business and technology, massive innovation started with small actions. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak began Apple in a garage with a single idea to make computers accessible to everyday people. Elon Musk took his first steps in creating SpaceX when others doubted that private space travel was even possible. They didn't start with billion-dollar companies, they started with one vision and one step forward. The same pattern holds true in social movements. The fight for women's rights did not begin with global marches but with women like Susan B. Anthony and Emmeline Pankhurst, who chose to speak up when society told them to remain silent. The Leb-to rights movement was propelled forward by a single moment of resistance at the Stonewall Inn, where people refused to accept oppression any longer. One action, one decision, one moment of courage, it is all it takes to begin something that can change the world. The problem is that most people hesitate. They wait for someone else to take the first step. They believe that their small efforts won't matter in the grand scheme of things. But history proves otherwise. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. A revolution starts with a single protest. A groundbreaking invention begins with a single idea. The biggest impact in the world often starts with one person daring to take action, even when no one else does. At the heart of every great achievement, every revolution, and every act of extraordinary courage is one fundamental truth: belief in oneself is the foundation of success. Without self-belief, even the most talented, intelligent, and capable individuals may hesitate, doubt, and ultimately fail to act. But when a person has unwavering faith in their own abilities, they unlock their true potential and become unstoppable. Throughout history, some of the most influential figures were not born into power, wealth, or privilege. They were ordinary people who chose to believe in themselves when no one else did. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. Born into poverty and facing significant hardships, she was told she wasn't fit for television. But she believed in her voice, her message, and her purpose. That self-belief led her to become one of the most successful media personalities in history, inspiring millions with her story. Think about Michael Jordan, widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. In high school, he was cut from his varsity team. Many would have taken that as a sign to give up, but Jordan refused. He believed in his ability, worked relentlessly to improve, and eventually became a six-time NBA champion. His self-belief didn't just define his career, it redefined the game itself. Believing in oneself does not mean never experiencing doubt or fear. It means choosing to move forward despite those doubts. Many of the world's greatest minds faced rejection before achieving greatness. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he finally invented the light bulb. Their belief in themselves kept them going when the world told them to stop. But self-belief isn't just about grand achievements, it shapes our daily lives. People who believe in themselves approach challenges with confidence rather than hesitation. They see failure as a lesson rather than a defeat. They take risks, push boundaries, and embrace opportunities that others shy away from. On the other hand, lack of self-belief is one of the biggest barriers to success. How many people never chase their dreams because they think they aren't good enough? How many ideas never become reality because someone doubted their ability to bring them to life? Fear of failure and self doubt paralyze potential, keeping people stuck in the same place, never daring to take that first step. Belief in oneself is not about arrogance, it is about recognizing one's worth, trusting one's abilities, and understanding that failure is not the end, it is just part of the journey. The world will always have critics and naysayers, but the most powerful voice is the one inside you. If you believe in yourself, nothing can stop you. Every action we take, no matter how small, has the potential to create a ripple effect that extends far beyond what we can see. This is especially true for acts of kindness and courage, two qualities that, when combined, have the power to transform lives, inspire change, and uplift communities. At times, we underestimate how much impact a simple act of kindness can have. We think that because we are just one person, our actions are insignificant. But history and personal experiences tell a different story. A single kind word, a moment of compassion, or an act of generosity can change the course of someone's day or even their entire life. Consider the story of Mother Teresa, who dedicated her life to serving the poor and the sick. She started by helping one person at a time in the streets of Calcutta. Over time, her kindness inspired an entire movement, leading to the establishment of charitable organizations around the world. She did not wait for governments or institutions to act, she simply chose kindness, and the ripples of her actions touched millions. Even in our daily lives, small gestures of kindness can have powerful effects. Imagine a teacher who encourages a struggling student, making them believe in their potential. That student may go on to achieve greatness simply because someone took the time to believe in them. A single kind word can be the difference between someone giving up and someone pushing forward. A stranger paying for another's meal, a friend offering a listening ear, or a simple smile to someone having a bad day, these are all small actions that can leave a lasting impact. But kindness alone is not always enough. Sometimes it takes courage to be kind in a world that can be harsh and indifferent. It takes courage to stand up for someone being bullied. It takes courage to help someone when it's inconvenient or unpopular. It takes courage to go against the tide and choose empathy when others choose judgment. A powerful example of courage and kindness working together is the story of Oskar Schindler, a businessman who risked his own life to save over 1,000 Jewish people during the Holocaust. At a time when fear and hatred ruled, he chose to act with kindness and bravery. His decision to protect innocent lives, despite the dangers, created a ripple effect that extended through generations. His actions meant that thousands of families exist today because of his selfless. Another example is Mahatma Gandhi, whose nonviolent resistance was both an act of immense courage and deep kindness. He faced oppression with patience and forgiveness, proving that standing firm in one's values can inspire millions. His ripple effect was not just the independence of India, but also the inspiration for countless other civil rights movements across the world. The beauty of the ripple effect is that we may never see its full impact. A person who receives an act of kindness today may pass it on to others, and it can continue spreading far beyond what we ever imagined. Courage, too, can be contagious. When one person stands up for what is right, others are inspired to do the same. The world is often changed not by grand gestures, but by small acts of kindness and courage, repeated over and over again by ordinary people. Every choice to be kind, every moment of bravery, sends out ripples that can touch countless lives, often in ways we will never doubt. Every great achievement in history has been met with obstacles, setbacks, and failures. No one who has ever accomplished something meaningful did so without facing difficulties. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not luck, talent, or privilege, it is perseverance. Those who achieve greatness understand that challenges are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. Failure and hardship are part of every journey, and they often test how much we truly want something. Thomas Edison is a perfect example of this. Before successfully inventing the light bulb, he failed over 1,000 times. But instead of seeing these failures as reasons to quit, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His resilience eventually led to one of the greatest inventions in history. J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, was rejected by multiple publishers before finally getting her big break. At one point, she was a struggling single mother battling poverty and depression. Many would have given up after so much rejection, but she believed in her story and persisted, ultimately becoming one of the best-selling authors in history. Even world-changing leaders have faced enormous challenges. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison for standing against apartheid in South Africa. He could have given in to anger, hopelessness, or despair, but instead he used his time in prison to strengthen his resolve, educate himself, and prepare for the future. When he was finally released, he did not seek revenge, he sought reconciliation, leading South Africa toward unity and progress. Challenges come in many forms: failure, criticism, rejection, self-doubt, financial struggles, health problems, or societal barriers. But the people who make a difference in the world are those who refuse to let those challenges define them. Instead, they learn from them, adapt, and push forward. Many people fear failure so much that they never even try. They convince themselves that they are not good enough, not smart enough, or not capable enough to succeed. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path to success. Every challenge, every setback, every difficulty teaches something valuable. It forces us to grow, to improve, and to become stronger. The greatest breakthroughs often come after the hardest struggles. If Martin Luther King Jr. had stopped speaking out after facing threats and opposition, the civil rights movement would not have had the same impact. If Malala Yousafzai had let fear silence her after being shot for advocating girls' education, millions of girls worldwide might still be without a voice. Challenges are inevitable, but they are not meant to stop us, they are meant to shape us. They test our resilience, our determination, and our belief in ourselves. If we can learn to embrace difficulties as part of the journey, we will find that they are not barriers to success, but the very things that prepare us for it. In a world filled with billions of people, it is easy to feel small, insignificant, and unheard. Many people go through life believing that their opinions do not matter, that their actions will not make a difference, or that someone else will take responsibility for change. But history has proven time and time again that one voice, one action, one decision can create waves of impact that reach far beyond what we can imagine. Every great movement, every revolution, and every breakthrough began because someone decided to speak up. It was not always the loudest voice, the most powerful person, or the wealthiest individual. It was often an ordinary person who chose to say, "Enough is enough." Consider Rosa Parks, whose simple refusal to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama, became the spark that ignited the civil rights movement. She was one woman taking one action, but her decision led to a nationwide fight for justice. What if she had remained silent? What if she had believed that her actions would not matter? History would have been very different. Think about Malala Yousafzai, who, as a young girl, refused to be silenced when the Taliban tried to take away her right to education. She could have chosen to remain quiet and accept oppression. Instead, she spoke out, and her voice became a symbol of hope for millions of girls worldwide who long for the opportunity to learn. Today, she is a Nobel Prize laureate, proving that one voice can stand against even the greatest forces of fear and suppression. Your voice does not have to be heard on a global stage to be powerful. Every time you stand up for what is right, speak out against injustice, or take a small action to help someone in need, you are making a difference. Maybe you defend a classmate who is being bullied. Maybe you help someone who is struggling. Maybe you challenge a harmful idea in a conversation. These moments may seem small, but they create ripples that inspire others to do the same. Even your everyday actions, how you treat others, the way you conduct yourself, the values you uphold send a message. People notice. The way you speak to a stranger, the kindness you show to someone in distress, the integrity you display when no one is watching, these things matter. Some people hesitate to use their voice because they are afraid of criticism, rejection, or failure. They fear being different, standing out, or going against the crowd. But if history has taught us anything, it is that progress only happens when people are brave enough to speak up, even when it is difficult. Silence allows injustice to continue. Indifference allows problems to persist. But action, no matter how small, creates change. Imagine if every person who ever changed the world had stayed silent. What if abolitionists had never spoken out against slavery? What if suffragettes had never demanded the right to vote? What if scientists and inventors had never pursued their ideas because they were afraid of failure? The world would not be where it is today. The truth is, you don't have to be famous, wealthy, or in a position of power for your voice and actions to matter. You simply have to be willing to speak up and act when it counts. The choices you make, the words you speak, and the values you stand for, these are the things that shape not only your own life, but the world around you. The world is filled with people who have great ideas, strong opinions, and dreams of making a difference. Yet very few take action. Most people waiting for the right moment, for permission, for someone else to lead. They hesitate because of fear, doubt, or uncertainty. But the truth is, change is created by those who decide to act, even when the conditions are not perfect. Throughout history, progress has been driven by doers, not just dreamers. Those who made the biggest impact were not necessarily the most qualified or experienced. They were simply the ones who stood up, stepped forward, and did something when others hesitated. Take Alexander Graham Bell, for example. He was not the only one experimenting with the idea of a telephone, but he was the one who took decisive action, ultimately revolutionizing human communication. The Wright brothers were not the only ones dreaming of flight, but they were the ones who persisted, tested, failed, and kept going until they succeeded. Look at Elon Musk, who took action when others doubted his vision for electric cars and space travel. When Tesla and SpaceX were on the verge of collapse, he did not sit back. He invested everything he had, worked tirelessly, and turned his vision into reality. Today, electric vehicles and private space exploration are thriving industries because one person took action when it mattered most. But taking action is not just about major scientific breakthroughs or business ventures. It applies to every area of life, from helping a neighbor in need to standing up for what is right, from starting a new project to breaking out of a comfort zone. Consider the people who see injustice but remain silent, the ones who want to start a business but never take the first step, the ones who have brilliant ideas but never bring them to life. They are held back not by lack of ability, but by lack of action. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not just intelligence or talent, it is the willingness to act, even when afraid, even when unsure, even when the odds are against them. Taking action does not mean you will not fail. In fact, failure is almost guaranteed at some point. But every successful person will tell you that failure is not what stops progress. Inaction is. When you do nothing, nothing changes. When you refuse to step forward, the world moves on without you. Think about the difference one action can make. One vote can decide an election. One person standing up against injustice can spark a movement. One scientist pursuing a new discovery can change medicine forever. One act of kindness can transform a life. The hardest part of taking action is often the first step. It is easy to make excuses, to say, "I'm not ready," or "I don't know enough," or "someone else will do it." But the truth is, there is no perfect time to act. The best time is now. Be the one who raises their hand, who steps forward, who takes responsibility. Be the one who turns ideas into reality, thoughts into words, and words into action. Because at the end of the day, the ones who change the world are not the ones who wait, they are the ones who do. As we reflect on the power of one, remember this: every great change, every movement, every breakthrough starts with a single person who dares to believe, to speak up, to take action. It does not take a crowd to make a difference. It takes one courageous heart, one determined mind, one willing soul. You have that power within you. Whether through kindness, courage, resilience, or action, you can create ripples that spread far beyond what you can see. The world does not change because of those who wait, it changes because of those who step forward and do something. So ask yourself, what impact will you make? What will you stand for? What action will you take? Because at the end of the day, the power of one is not just a concept, it is a choice. And that choice is yours to make.